Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivara Dari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivara Dari Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki jai, Go Premanande. May I very humbly ask everyone to move a bit closer? If you two gentlemen come together, it's good that you're sharing the Gita, come together a bit closer in this direction, and then the ladies can come in this direction. And if you have access to a smartphone and you can get Veda Base up, then open up your Veda Base to chapter 11, text 22. We're going to start at 22. So if everyone got their Gitas, chapter 11. Yeah, come. I promise I won't bite. Promise. Yeah, become. So I'm gonna get you guys to take turns reading the verses. Do we have any? Prabhu, do you have database up? Can you share it with Ananta Shakti? Yeah. So chapter 11, text 22, and we'll start by doing the Mangala Charana. Who knows the Mangala Charana? Okay, you know the Mangala. Yeah, that's all right, we can cheat. It's in the introduction of the Gita. So open up the introduction of the Gita and we'll do the Mangala Charana together. But we'll start with Om Namo Bhagavate. Everyone get open your Mangala Charana, which invokes auspiciousness. Mangala means auspiciousness. So in the introduction, good. We'll do Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and then we'll go straight into Mangala Charana together. So recite after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So now we'll recite the Mangala Charana together. Okay? We'll go through slowly. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you, Prabhu. May I ask someone to bring the second mic? Thank you so much. Oh, great. So we'll start with the ladies, because the ladies have got a mic in their hand, and then we'll pass it to one of the gentlemen. Chapter 11, text 22. We're going to do from 22 to 27. So if someone would, who feels comfortable practicing reading the Sanskrit? Go ahead. Oh, good. We've got, well, what's your name? Rita. Rita, can you take the mic? And you do 22, and then I'll get Jagat Priya to do 23. So.
Ruda Titya Vasova Yecha Sadhya
Rudraditya Vasavo Yecha Sadhya
Visvesvinau Marutas Kosmapascha
Vishveshvino Marutash Koshmapascha
Gandharva Yaksasura Siddha Sangha
Gandhava Yaksho Surasita Sangha.
Viksante tvam vismitas kaiva sarve.
Vikshante tvam vishmitas cheva sarve. Thank you. You can read the English translation as well.
All the various manifestations of Lord Shiva, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadhyas, the Visvedevas, the two Asvis, the Maruts, the forefathers, the Gandharvas, the Yaksas, the Yashuras, and the perfect demigods are beholding you in wonder.
Thank you. So who knows who all these people are? Who knows who their teachers are? Anyone? Who knows who the Vasus are? You know? So, Diti? Yeah. Well, Aditya is the mother of the gods, and Diti is the mother of the demons. But we're going to come back to this verse because there's no purport here. But I thought it'd be interesting to see who all these people are. We'll carry on until we get to the purport. We'll give a class on the purport, and if there's time, we'll come back and we can explain who all these people are. So maybe you could pass the mic to Jagaprabhu. Jagaprabhu, could you do 23?
Okay. Rupam mahate bahu Rupam mahate bahuvatra netram.
Rupam mahate bahuvaktra netram.
Mahabahu bahu bahurupadam.
Baho bahu bahu bahurupadam.
Bahudaram bahudamstra karalam.
Bahudaram bahudamstra karalam.
Ristva loka pravyatitas tataham.
Drishtva loka pravyatitas tataham.
Almighty Amvan.
Go ahead.
Almighty Amvan, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your great form, with its many faces, eyes, arms, thighs, legs, and bellies, and your many terrible teeth. And as they are disturbed, so am I.
So, thank you. Welcome to the newcomers. If you can get access to the Bhagavad-gita, either on your phone, you do. It's chapter 11, text 22, and we're going to read till 27. So, if you'd like to pass the mic to the gentleman in front of you, over here. Are you able to read the Sanskrit? No? Okay. How about the gentleman next to you? Fantastic. Great.
25.
We're doing 24.
24, sorry.
Yes. And if you need help, we're all here to help.
Nabhasparsham.
I think you need to talk into the mic. Is it on?
Is that better? Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
better.
Sorry. Nabhasparsham diptam anekvarnam
Nabhasprisham diptam anekavarnam
vyattananam dipta vishala netram
Vyatanam dipta vishala netram
drishta hitvam pravatyatitantar atma
Drishva hitvam pravyatitantaratma
dritam navindami shamam cha vishnu.
Dritam navindami shamam cha Vishnu. Fantastic. Could you read the English and speaking into the mic?
Sorry. O all-pervading Vishnu.
Right up the mic to your face, yeah.
All-pervading Vishnu, seeing you with your many radiant colours touching the sky, your gaping mouths and your great glowing eyes, my mind is perturbed by fear. I can no longer maintain my steadiness or equilibrium of mind.
Thank you so much. So I need another man to volunteer to do text 25. Anyone? The devotee behind you, will you do it? Yeah? Thank you. And the English after you've done the Sanskrit. Thank you so much.
Nabha sprisham dipta anekavarnam.
Okay, look, oh, sorry, I was in the wrong place. Nabha sprisham diptam anekavarnam
Vyatananam dipta vishala netram.
Vyatananam dipta vishala netram
Dristva hitvam pravyathitantaratma.
Drishva hitvam pravyatitantaratma
Dhritim navi vindami shamam cha Vishnu.
Drishtim na vindami shamam cha Vishnu. English? English? Oh, we did this one? Okay. Then do text 25. It's all right. Now do text 25. The Sanskrit.
Dangstra karalani chate mukhani.
Damstra karalani chate mukhani.
Dristveva kala nalasa nivani.
Drishte bakala nalasani bani.
Disho na jane na labhe sa sharma.
Disho na jane na labhe cha sarma.
Prashita devesha jagan nivasa.
Prasida divesha jagan nivasa. Read the English. Read the English for just text 25.
O Lord of Lords, O refuge of the worlds, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, thus seeing your blazing, death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions I am bewildered.
Thank you. Do you want to read? Andres. Do you want to do one verse and give the next verse to my husband?
Okay, I'll try. Ami chatvam drishtarashtasya putra.
Ami chatvam dhritarashtrasya putra.
Sarve sahavavani palasakha.
Sarve sahavavani palasange.
Bhishmo drona sutta putrastatashau.
Bhishmo drona sutta putrastataso.
Sahasmadiyar api yodha mukhya.
Sahasmadiyai api yodha mukhe. Thank you, my husband.
Vatrani te tvarana vishanti.
Vaktrani te tavarna vavishanti.
Damstra karalani payanakani.
Damstra karalani bayanakani. Kechit vilagna dashantara deshu.
Tamangai.
Sandrishyante churnita utmanange. Would you like to do the English as well, Sam?
All the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings, and Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and our chief soldiers also, are rushing into your fearful mouths, and some I see trapped with heads smashed between your teeth.
Okay, thank you. So we can give the mic to Holly. Yeah, we'll give the mic to you. Thank you, Prabhu, for your help. And if you'd like to read the purport.
In a previous verse, the Lord promised to show Arjuna things he would be very interested in seeing. Now Arjuna sees that the leaders of the opposite party, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and all the sons of Dhritarashtra, and their soldiers and Arjuna's own soldiers are all being annihilated. This is an indication that after the death of nearly all the persons assembled at Kurukshetra, Arjuna will emerge victorious. It is also mentioned here that Bhishma, who is supposed to be unconquerable, will also be smashed. So also Karna. Not only will the great warriors of the other parties like Bhishma be smashed, but some of the great warriors of Arjuna's side also.
Fantastic. Thank you, Holly. So hold on to that because I'm going to get you to pass it to people. So we're going to start with Prabhupada's purport in this last two verses. So he starts by saying, and I'm going to get you to me, in a previous verse, the Lord promised to show Arjuna things he would be very interested in seeing. So he's saying, if you go back a few verses, he doesn't tell us how many verses, but he says, somewhere before this verse, Krishna tells Arjuna, now Arjuna, I'm going to show you some things that will be of great interest to you. Do you all agree with me? That's what Prabhupada is saying? Who knows what verse Prabhupada is referring to? Which verse is it? And if you were reading by yourself and you didn't know, would you look it up? Or would you just pass over it? Okay. If we pass over things we don't understand, we'll never understand. So if we don't know, who knows which verse Prabhupada is referring to? If you know, you can put up your hand. If you don't know, we should all look. So let's go back into the Gita. I'm going to give you a tip. It's in this chapter. Pardon? We're going to look for the verse where Krishna tells Arjuna, now I'm going to show you some things which will be of interest to you. And I want to see which verse. Go ahead. 11:7. Excellent. Please give the Vaishnavi the mic. 11:7. Excellent. Read like an archaeological adventurer, like you're digging for archaeological treasures. When you're studying Prabhupada's books, look into it, what he's saying, and you'll actually gain so much benefit by the effort. Okay, so please read to us what Krishna says in 11:7.
So, O Arjuna, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see and whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything, moving and non-moving, is here completely in one place.
So who agrees that it's this 11:7 Prabhupada is referring to? Because in 11:7, Krishna says to Arjuna, whatever might be of interest to you, Arjuna, you can see now. I'm going to show you everything. And there's another commentator on the Bhagavad-gita called Baladeva Vijibhushan. And he writes in his commentary to that verse, he says that when Krishna says that, what he's intimating to Arjuna is this: see in my body the future victory and defeat in this war. So he's saying to Arjuna, you must be wondering who's going to win and who's going to lose. Now, let me show you who's going to win and who's going to lose. I'm going to show you everything that's going to take place. So that's what we're referring to, text 7. Who knows which verse Prabhupada is referring to now? Which verse? Text 7, yes. Who else remembers that? Which verse is Prabhupada referring to? Put up your hand if you know which verse now. Okay, thank you, text 7. All right. Because Prabhupada says when we come to class, we should learn something. Not that we just attend, but we should learn something. And if we actually learn something, we'll go away richer. So let's move on through the purport. He says in the purport, let me see. Now Arjuna sees the leaders of the opposite party, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and all the sons of Dhritarashtra and their soldiers, and Arjuna's own soldiers are all being annihilated. So what does Arjuna see when he looks into this universal body of the Lord? What is he seeing? Take the mic.
No, I was saying he's seeing death.
He's seeing whose death?
Death of the opposing party, like Bhishma, Drona, and
Yeah.
who else was said that? So
He sees all their big generals. Does he see anyone dying on his side?
That was in the purport said. Prabhupada said
In the
that
purport, Prabhupada
that's
says too.
excellent.
Yes, that's because that's the section we're just reading in the purport thing. So he sees all the big generals and soldiers on the other side, and he also sees some of the prominent generals on his side, all being just snatched up, killed. Then let's see what else Prabhupada says. It is also mentioned here, this is an indication that after the death of nearly all the persons assembled at Kurukshetra, Arjuna will emerge victorious. So, what is Prabhupada saying there? Hands up if you want to tell me what Prabhupada said in that sentence. This is an indication that after the death of nearly all the persons assembled at Kurukshetra, Arjuna will emerge victorious. Who knows what Prabhupada is saying there? Who can tell me what Prabhupada is saying? Besides Jagat Priya. Go ahead, take the mic from Jagat Priya.
He might be saying that it doesn't matter the result because he's performing his duty, so he shouldn't be attached because he will anyway be victorious because he's performing Krishna's, what Krishna says is his duty.
Okay,
No.
I actually didn't hear a lot of it. Can you speak?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Speak into.
Oh.
I think you have to hold the mic facing you. Yeah, that's right.
I was saying that it doesn't matter the result of the action because he's performing his duty, what Krishna is saying him to do. So he will anyway be victorious no matter the result.
Okay, so you're saying that what Prabhupada is saying is whether he loses or wins the battle, in a spiritual sense, he's won because he's done his duty. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Yeah? Good try. Anyone agree with the Vaishnavi? What did you understand Prabhupada to be saying? Give the mic to him. I'm so glad you're getting involved. Thank you so much. What do you think?
I understood that he was saying that the good side was going to win, and it was as simple as that.
Yeah, that's what I understood too,
Yeah.
but it was a good try. I thought her point was a very good point. So you're understanding that Prabhupada's just saying, it's clear to Arjuna from what he sees that he's going to win. Did I understand you correctly? Thank you, yes. Okay, I want to ask you a question. Why do you think it's clear from what he sees that, in fact, it says that after the death of nearly all the persons, both the other side and his soldiers, nearly everyone's going to die, but Arjuna's not going to die. Arjuna, what makes it so clear? What indicates that? Go ahead. Please give her the mic.
I think because Arjuna is an intimate devotee of Krishna. You know, he has really taken shelter of him, so he's more protected than anybody else on the battlefield.
Okay.
And anything can happen, but he will always remain like a house in a hurricane. You know, like miraculously saved. Like everything else is destroyed, but he will be there because he's really empowered.
Really nice
by
point.
Krishna, so
You're saying it's because Arjuna's Krishna's very intimate friend. No matter what else is going on in the universal form, Krishna is going to protect Arjuna. He's got inside a magic bubble. He's not going to get hurt. That's a nice point. Is that what the sentence is saying? It is indicated. It is also, what is it? It says, this is an indication. What makes it an indication? Go ahead, please give him the mic. Thank you for your point. It was a really good point. I just want to see if there's any other lines. This is an indication.
It's more than a prophecy. He's sort of seeing it. He's seeing it in the form of Krishna. So
Thank you. You're saying it's what he sees in the universal form that's the indication. He sees everyone dying. Does he see himself dying? No, he doesn't. We don't hear, and he sees himself and his brothers dying. So he sees all the Kauravas, he sees even some of his own soldiers, but nope, Arjuna is not being chewed up. So that's an indication. It's what he's actually seeing that indicates to him, I'm going to survive because I don't see me being chewed up here. Yeah? Thank you for that. It's really nice. Okay, it is also mentioned here that Bhishma, who is supposed to be unconquerable, will also be smashed. Who knows who Bhishma is? Go ahead, Andres. Please give him the...
The Bhishma is the granddad of Arjuna's granddad.
Yes. And why is he supposed to be unconquerable?
As far as I understand, like my knowledge, so the Bhishma he had the boon that he never die unless when he decided to die.
Thank you. I mean, that's pretty unconquerable. He will never die unless he wants to die. But Arjuna sees him being killed too. Thank you for that. So let's carry on through the purport. So also our Karna. Who's Karna? Who knows who Karna is? Check. Okay, Andres. Any other people who know who Karna is? Someone who's not spoken so far? Go ahead. If you've not spoken, please speak now.
He was the eldest of Kunti's sons, but he was kind of separated from his other brothers.
Yes, he was given away at birth because she had him out of wedlock. It wasn't that she was an unchaste lady, it's just the sun god decided he wanted to give her a child. And she wasn't wed yet, so she put him in the Ganges River and prayed to the sun god, you brought him here, you take care of him. And he grew up not knowing that the Pandavas were his brother. So he started fighting on the other side. He became friends with Duryodhana. But he's going to get killed too. Not only will the great warriors of the other party like Bhishma be smashed, but some of the great warriors of Arjuna's side also. So what are we hearing here? What is the overall would you agree with me if I was to say this? The overall message is that Krishna is saying, I've already done the killing. It's by my arrangement. The people who are going to die, I've arranged that they're going to die. Would you all agree that that's pretty much what he's saying? Whether you fight or not, Arjun, these people, by my arrangement, are all at death's door. Would you agree with that? Okay. Please. Did I make that statement for a reason?
Does he make that statement for a reason that everybody's going to die?
Yeah.
He's able to look into the future and basically create the future. So from where does that come from? What gives him the rights or the reason?
Wow, that's good. But you're saying, did Krishna say this, show Arjuna that he has predicted? In fact, not only has he predicted, he's decided what's going to happen. Is that for a reason that he's telling Arjuna that? And if he's decided, it's almost like, I'm going to make you die and I'm going to make you live. What gives him the right to be so, if you like, almost, what's the word for it? When partial, like, yeah, you can live, you're going to die. Why does God do that? Did I understand you correctly? Yeah. That's a really good question. I'm just going to ask you to hold it for a while. Yeah. Okay? Because I want to get through this class, and then by the time I finish the class, we can come back to it. Don't let me forget, and you can tell me if you get any light into it by the end of the class. Is that okay? Thank you for your good question. It's an excellent question, actually. So I want to bring your attention to another verse. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 12, Text 12. And if you've got smartphones, you can go to it. Canto 6, Chapter 12, Text 12. The best use of our smartphones is not Instagram, it's not Twitter, it's not Facebook, it's using our smartphones to go to the Shastra during class so we can engage with it. So Canto 6, Chapter 12, Text 12. Who's got that verse up? Okay, let's give you the mic. Whoever's got the mic. And please speak into the face of the mic.
Just the English? Or
just the English.
A foolish, senseless person cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although always dependent, he falsely thinks himself the Supreme. If one thinks, according to one's previous fruitive actions, one's material body is created by the father and mother, and the same body is annihilated by another agent, as another animal is devoured by a tiger. This is not proper understanding. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself creates and devours the living beings through other living beings.
Okay. It's making a similar point. And what it says here, what's not a proper understanding? What do foolish people think when things go like, let's say, Putin has now invaded Ukraine, or someone has won the jackpot, or whatever? What does a foolish person think, according to this verse? Go ahead. We need to give you the mic. According to this verse.
Is it that...
Talk into the... yeah.
Is it that foolish people think that they are the doer or controller? Is that...
Okay, let me see. Is that what it says? Jai Shishi Radha Gokulananda Shishi Sitaram Lakshma Hanuman Shishi Gaunitai. Thank you. So you were saying a foolish person thinks he's the doer. Let's see. He falsely thinks himself the supreme. Yeah, I guess, which means thinks I'm in charge. That's good. if one thinks, what else does he think? He falsely thinks himself the supreme. So I think what you said pretty much covers that. Does he think anything else? What else does he think, according to the verse? That was a good point. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm hearing that if we think that our mother and father are our mother and father, then that is not right. And if we think that that we are annihilated or by a tiger, or if an animal is eaten by anyone else,
Okay.
so that's also not right.
So if you think,
We have to
I'm
see it
here
different.
because my mum and dad conceived me,
Yeah.
that's wrong. That's not why you're here. And if you think, oh, that person got killed because a bomb fell on their head, it was that nasty Putin who did it, that's wrong too. It wasn't nasty Putin. It wasn't the tiger who killed him. What is the right understanding? Go ahead. Please give him the mic. According to that verse, have a look at the verse.
Without looking at the verse, all I can guess is that it was preordained.
It's preordained by who?
My God.
By God. So we're here because God put us here. And we'll die when God arranges for our death. And the instruments are simply instruments. They're not the ultimate cause. So you have the ultimate cause and the instrumental cause. Who agrees that's what this verse is saying? Yeah? So the real cause is the ultimate cause, the Lord. And this is making your question even more and more, if you like, relevant, isn't it? Why would God be the ultimate cause for all these things? But before we go to that question, I just want to ask the question I had, because I wanted to answer that question, and then we'll go to your question. So the question I had is, if we understand this as devotees, how can knowing that everything is done by Krishna, this is my question, how can knowing that help us? Your question is slightly different. Your question is, well, why does he do it? My question is, how can knowing everything is done by Krishna, how can that help us? Okay, you've got the mic, so I'm going to let you say, okay, we pass the mic, it's okay. You can say something if you like, then we'll pass it. Okay, how can knowing that everything is being done by Krishna, how can knowing that help us?
I think it removes the uncertainty because you know it's all in God's hands, so you don't worry about it.
Say it again.
It removes the uncertainty so that you don't worry about it because you know it's God that's doing it.
What a wonderful answer. You're saying it removes, you said uncertainty. What I think you meant is anxiety. It removes all the anxiety and the worry and the fear, because we know everything's under control of God. And He's all good. You didn't say that, but I think it was implied. Yeah. He's all good, so why do I need to worry? Did I understand you correctly? What a perfect answer. And Rita, were you going to say a similar thing?
Yeah, I also wanted to say that then we can let go and understand that we are not in control. And also we would not blame others for what's happening to us. Or we will not blame ourselves, although we shouldn't, of course, avoid responsibility, but we would not think that, oh, it's all in my control or it's all my fault. We would just let go of this mentality that we are in control. Yeah.
You're saying it also makes us give up blaming others and blaming ourselves and just let go. So what I'm saying you mean by let go is just accept the Lord's will. So what's between that and being irresponsible? Like Dhritarashtra says that when Gandhari comes to him before the last gambling match, says, "My dear husband, Vidura warned you when our son was born that he would bring about the destruction of the family. And now that's going to happen. Please, before it's too late, reject him." And Dhritarashtra said something very similar. What can I do? It's in God's hands. If God wants us all to be destroyed, we're going to be destroyed. I'm going to go ahead with the gambling match anyway. What can I do? Or Ordain says that too. Why are you blaming me? I am what God made me. So does that lead to that conclusion? I'm not responsible for anything. It's all God's fault. He was just having a bad day. Is that the conclusion we should come to? So how would we not come to that conclusion? And I think we're going to gradually bring it to your question. Please give him the mic.
With very limited understanding that I have, I think what he means is that everybody has a duty, dharma. And if you understand your dharma and you follow that, then you should not think about anything else. Similarly, if somebody is going against, for example, you're saying Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana, then they need to be penalized. Even Bhishma Pitama, who's their Pandav's loved grandfather, he needs to be punished just because adharma has to be defeated.
What a wonderful answer. What a treat. I'm going to reflect it back. Before I reflect it back, Swami, can you help me find an evidence to support what this gentleman was saying on the Gita? I'm not sure if karmanye badikara stays an evidence, but an evidence to support that we do our duty and the result comes as a result of the duty that we either do or don't do. There should be some evidences in the Gita to support that. That's a wonderful point you made, sir. So you're saying, no, everyone has a God-given duty, and the Sanskrit term for that is dharma. So if we're doing our dharma, you didn't give this as an example, but Yudhishthira was doing his dharma. Yeah. It's a Kshatriya's dharma that if he's challenged to a fight or a gambling match, he cannot refuse a challenge. So doing his dharma, whatever result comes, he cannot be held culpable, because that is in the hand of God, because he's doing his dharma. Dhritarashtra wasn't doing his dharma. He was going against his religious duties.
Yeah.
So he was responsible for the result.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to see if my husband's found an evidence from the Gita to support your point. 247, is that karmanye vadikara stay? Let's see if 247 supports it. If you find any other evidences, that'd be great. Let's see. We'll go to your Gitas, 247, because Prabhupada says in Bhagavad-gita 17:15, you can just give it to whoever gets the Gita out. Swami, do you want to read it? 247? But we all go to it. Prabhupada says in 17:15 per report, that in spiritual circles, when we assert something, we should immediately support it with scripture. So now this gentleman has made a very good point. Let's see if we can support it with scripture. So 247, when everyone's found it, we can get my husband to read the verse. Please.
You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty.
Yes. So we have we have a choice. Do I act dutifully or do I not act dutifully? If I act dutifully, it doesn't matter what the response is. I'm protected by religion. That's said in the Mahabharata. Virtue protects the virtuous. So you see that, for example, Yudhishthira, he did his duty, and at first it seemed terrible. You think, how could a virtuous man, or Lord Ram? Lord Ram was always virtuous, but everything was going wrong, one after another. He's got banished into the forest for 13 or 14 years. His wife was stolen. Everything was going wrong. But virtue protects the virtuous, because even though everything seemed to be going wrong, a very wonderful outcome came for the whole world. The whole world was benefited because of that exile. Whereas Dhritarashtra wasn't doing his duty, and he seemed to prosper for a while. But that prosperity turned to his destruction and the destruction of his entire clan. So we can't always judge what will happen, but if we're doing our duty, the ultimate outcome will be auspicious. even though in the short term, we may sometimes feel, ooh, that was a hairy ride. Didn't expect that. But just stick to your duty, to your God-given duty, and the ultimate outcome will be auspicious, because virtue protects the virtuous. So bringing this back to your question, which was, why does God predestine one outcome for one person and another for another? So I have a light on that. But before I share my light on that, I'd like to see what you would say on that. Can we have the mic? If you have a thought, if you don't have any thoughts, you can say pass. But you may have a thought on it.
Well, I was just saying that, what right does anyone have to make those sort of decisions, even if it's God, to preordain the death of some people and the survival of others?
Okay, you say, it's not just God. What right does anyone have to preordain someone's death or survival? Okay. Now, that was your question. Do you have any light on it? If you don't, that's
Not
fine.
really, no.
You don't? Okay. Does anyone have a light on that? Okay, let's give it to Prabhu. We'll take one or two lights and then I'll share my light. Go ahead.
Mine might go off with a couple of tangents, so pull me back if I do. So if we know that, everything is God's will, then the next question, I think, for me would be, okay, then why are we here? Then why are we here? What's our role supposed to be? I think that's where the Dharma and the duty is coming in. And then you can understand what we're supposed to be doing here.
Okay, so does that answer the question? You're going down a really nice path, I have to say, but does that answer the gentleman's question? What right does God or anyone have to preordain your death or my death or his survival?
Kind of.
How?
When you know why we're here.
Talking to the mic.
When you sort of start understanding why we're here, what our role is, then that sort of answers itself, because...
Answer it for us. Make it explicit.
Okay. Because my understanding is we're here because we, at some point, wanted to be separate from God. We wanted to be the controllers and to have those sort of godlike powers ourselves. So if we understand that that's not why we're here, that's not the right way, we should ultimately be serving God and developing love for God, then we never, that's eternal happiness and Satchit Anand, some other things, but also we don't actually die. Physically we die, but actually we're always alive in terms of our real identity of a jiva.
Very nice points. Can I help you and reflect?
Please.
Okay.
The
You're
question.
going down some really nice avenues. Let's see if we can bring those avenues up for the gentleman behind you. So Prabhu was saying, this gentleman was saying that to really understand the answer to that question, we first have to ask, who am I and why am I here? We're not this body. We're a spirit soul, an eternal soul who never dies. And we're here because we're rebellious to God. We shouldn't be. We've turned away from God. We're in the material world because... Give him the mic.
Did God never intend the earth and the people in it to be here?
Oh no, he intended it to be here. Just like the government intends a jailhouse to exist, the prison house to exist. But the government doesn't want the people to go into the prison house. The government knows there's always going to be criminals. So let us build a prison house. But he doesn't force the criminals. In fact, he prefers we're not criminals and we don't go into the prison house. A prisoner who goes into prison, really legitimately, that's not where he ought to be in the higher sense, in the sense of it'd be much better if he was out and doing something constructive rather than mugging people and ending up in prison. So in that sense, we oughtn't to be here. But since we have rebelled against God, God has created, if you like, Prabhupada says, the prison house of the material world.
Question.
Pardon?
Another question. When did we rebel?
Okay, but let's start one question at a time. because one question can take us down another one, down a rabbit hole. So sticking on your point about what right does God have to ordain it, this gentleman's point was that, first of all, he never ordains our death because the soul doesn't die. But the other point is that we're here to be rectified. So everything that the Lord arranges for us is part of our rectification process. Just like if a prisoner goes into the prison house and he's put into a solitary confinement or he's put into the workforce here, it's all part of what?
So does that mean that we are actually individual? Because I always understood when we passed on, we maybe became part of a whole. So we are individual.
Bhagavad-gita says we're individual.
Because he wouldn't be able to punish us otherwise.
No, let's look at Bhagavad-gita, what Bhagavad-gita says. Chapter 15, what's that? Mam se vam, Swami, remember that verse, chapter 15? Mama vamsa jiva loke. Which verse is that? 15 what? 15:7. Go to your Bhagavad-gita 15:7. But then I don't want to get deviated to more questions before we answer that first one you did. We're individuals. Okay, so the gentleman next to you, you can read it for him.
The living entities in this world, in this conditioned world, are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind.
Yes, so we're individual fragmental parts. We're eternally fragmental part. The example that comes to my mind is a jigsaw. So when you put all the parts together, you got the jigsaw, but each part of the jigsaw is an individual part. So we're all eternally, sanatana, eternally fragmental parts of God. I want to go back to your original question. What gives God the right to ordain? And it's following on from this gentleman's slide, it's like if the government sets up a system, if you get certain grades at A levels, you get a grant to go to university. If you mug someone, you go to prison. So the government sets up the laws, the rules. Then as individuals, we choose to work hard and get good grades and be eligible for the grant, or we choose to mug someone and be eligible for a prison sentence. When the judge says in the law court, I sentence you to 5 years in jail, one can say, what right does the judge have to sentence him to 5 years in jail? What right does anyone have to preordain the next 5 years of his life? But that is not a whimsical decision. It's not a whimsical, it's based on what has been done. So God sets up an equitable system in the material world. If I break the laws, and all the laws are around being equal to each other, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. So if I hurt you, then God's laws ordain that I must be hurt. If I help others, God's laws ordain that I will be rewarded. So it's in that sense that the Lord preordains everything. He doesn't, it's not whimsical, but it's based on an equitable system of justice. Just let me know if you understood what I said. Can you tell me what I said? Give him the mic. Okay, get someone to repeat back what I said, because sometimes we're not really hearing the answer. We're going to another question with that. Give him the mic.
You're talking about punishment, and you're saying that a prisoner would be punished for mugging, whereas somebody who gets good grades, they would be rewarded, and that the Lord would punish us for the bad deeds and reward us for the good. But I wanted then to know, are you saying that those bad deeds are actions in this life? Are they a result of previous generations, our ancestors?
It could be from a past life. Yeah.
Our past life or our
previous, our past lives.
Not our previous generations. Cause
no. Our past life.
In one place, sorry to quote the Bible, one place in the Bible said that people will be punished for so many generations, like 6 generations onwards. I can never
that
understand
the
it. It might be-
children. So I'm not really. I haven't studied the Bible,
Yeah.
nor have I tried to understand. But according to at least my understanding of the Gita, where each of us is an architect of our own destiny. So even if I'm born into a bad family, that's because of things I've done, I, the individual, have done in previous lives. That's according to the teachings of the Gita as far as I've understood it. So we have 5 minutes to 7. Am I meant to stop now to get ready for Aarti? Is that what I should? Okay. You've made today's discussion so good. You really churned it.
It's preordained that you should carry on for a bit.
Pardon?
I said it's preordained that you should carry on for a bit.
Yes, preordained, yes. Does anyone else have any questions or comments before the Aarti starts? Okay, Andres, go ahead.
Thank you for your class. It was really entertaining and.
Thank you for coming. I thought I was going to give class to myself in the beginning.
It was interesting. I was listening to the class, and the lecturer was giving that example about the prison, and he was explaining. He said, "But again, in the prison, you can get obviously different places. You can get in the library and sitting in a warm place, or you can get into the isolation." And to me, I was listening to you, and I was like, "Wow, that's kind of makes me thinking we are actually in the prison." But we are in the library, so
yes.
We're reading and we're listening, so we actually...
Yes, because even if you're in prison, the government gives you choices, don't you? You can study in the prison, or you can be a troublemaker, and depending on your choices, you can get a degree in the prison or go to solitary confinement. Yeah, absolutely. Pardon? In some prisons, yes. So we never got to talk about the people at the very beginning. I wanted to quickly do that, but we were talking about in the very first verse, text 22. Unless there was a question. Was there a question? Okay. So I don't know how many of you know about the Brilliant as the Sun series. This is Canto 6 come up. It's called Divine Protection. And many of these people are mentioned in Canto 6 of the Bhagavatam. The reason I show you this is because we do appendices at the back. And there's appendices of all the lineages, the mothers, the fathers, the sons. So the Adityas, an appendix, many of these are named after their mothers. Daksha, who's one of the progenitors, had 61 daughters. And his daughters married Yamaraj, Chandra, Kashyapa, Angira, and Bhuta. So Aditya, the Adityas are descendants of Kashyapa and Aditi, and they include Vivasvan. Who's Vivasvan? Sun god. Aryama. I don't know who Aryama. I think Aryama drives Vivasvan's chariot. Aryama, Pusha, Twashta, Savita, Bhaga, Datta, Vidata, Varuna. I don't recognize all the names. Varuna. Who's Varuna? I recognize that name. God of water. Mitra. I think he's got something to do with reproduction. Kshatriya and Urukrama. Who's Urukrama? He's very famous. Vamanadev, the dwarf incarnation. So the Vasu is one of Vasu are the sons of Vasu, who's the daughter of another of Daksha's daughters, married to Yamaraj. And she had 8 sons called the Vasus. Their names are Drona, Prana, Dhruva, Arka. Anyway, they're written here. They're written in this book, and they're all written in the Bhagavatam too. But who is Bhishma? He's one of the Vasus. He's Drona, yeah. The Sajjas, they're the sons of Sajja. Their mother's name was Sajja. And Sajja is another of Daksha's daughters who married Yamaraj. The Vishvadevas are sons of another of Daksha's daughters who married, her name was